But if you're asking the question, when is it capable of expressing consciousness through the actual physical form in a way that you understand as the expression of intelligence? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
49 days.
Wow. Early on.
Yes.
Okay. So that then along that
because
line,
at that point, the structures then exist within the embryo that allows for the expression of consciousness in the way you understand it, in the way that it needs to express itself as a physical being. Then it's capable of actually expressing the idea of awareness in physical terms. Until that time, there is no structure in the embryonic brain that allows that expression to actually happen in physical terms. But it takes 49 days for that structure to be formed. Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
All right.
So while the baby's been developing, what are ways that we can support and nurture the growth of the child, both, well, in all ways, spiritually, energetically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, again, obviously, first and foremost, by being your true selves, because then the child is being born to parents that are willing to be their true selves, which then act as living examples for the child and how they can be their true selves as well. That's first and foremost, yes?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Okay.
So then the rest is up to your own imagination. When you are more your true self, you will have the inspirations and the ideas of what to do that would benefit all of you as a family. Yes?
Yes.
When the child then comes into physical reality, as we have said previously, then it comes into the idea of, quote unquote, educating the child, helping them, guiding them, acclimating them to the concepts of physical reality and your societies specifically. Then it's about making sure that you teach them that they are self-empowered beings, as powerful as they need to be to manifest whatever they truly need in life without having to hurt themselves or anyone else in order to do so. Allowing them to find what their passion in life is, and anything that you believe is important for them to understand about physical reality, as the parents, as the teachers, creating with your imaginations a safe space in which they can explore consequences of choices, so that when they then finally get out into the world, they will understand that their consequences do exist for the choices that they make, and they will then make more constructive choices because you've given them the opportunity to practice understanding the connections between the choices they make and the consequences that follow in physical terms. Also, whatever else that you believe they need to know to get along in your world, it would be best again to explore what it is that excites them the most, and then whatever you believe they really need to learn, adapt the lesson to their excitement. Don't try to shove their excitement into the lesson. Do you understand?
Yeah.
By creating interactive scenarios that seem very real for them, you will see very clearly what path they choose to follow. Children who then are allowed to adapt the lessons to their excitement will be eager to learn because you're teaching them how to learn in a way that aligns with who they truly are and uses their talents, their specific gifts, bringing them to bear to absorb information. The bottom line, in a sense, about the idea of teaching information that you believe is important to teach and allowing them to retain that information is telling them stories. Story structure is the way all of you absorb information the best and retain it for the longest. That's why stories have existed on your planet for thousands upon thousands of years. Story structure is not something that you invented. Story structure is something you discovered within your consciousness, within your psyche. It's a specific pattern of consciousness and self-reflectivity that when you tell a story in a certain way with a certain kind of information that hits those story structure points, it resonates within you. It strikes a chord within you. And that allows the information to stick because they're willing to absorb it because you've hit that chord. So telling stories is very important. So tell stories that are stories of empowerment. Stories can contain the idea of what you call conflict, or at least the idea of what's going on between positive and negative belief systems, as long as they also contain the idea of transforming those things from negative to positive, then the child will retain a very powerful instruction of how to do that in life.
Great.
That's what we would suggest to you.
Okay.
Does this help?
Yes, definitely. From fifth density, how do you look at and view the role of fathership or fatherhood?
Well, I'm not in fifth density.
Oh, I thought you were.
We are transitioning.
Transitioning too.
But
Okay.
remember that fifth density is synonymous with what you call spirit.
Right.
Therefore, in that sense, it's not quite the same kind of an experience in non-physical reality as it is in physical reality, except the basic premise that it's about, in a sense, creating what I call that space, that provision of space in which people can grow and learn and become themselves. That can translate in physical terms. You usually think, I know this is changing and it's supposed to change and become more balanced, but I know that classically you usually look at the idea of the masculine energy as the provider. You understand?
Right.
Now, all of you have that energy. All of you have the masculine, all of you have the feminine. It's about finding the balance within and empowering everyone in an equal way. But the idea of that energy in general, that archetypal energy, is to provide that space in which something can then be nurtured by the feminine energy, so it gets both of those energies, the provider and the nurturer, and creates that safe, balanced space in which the child can grow in strength and balance and contain both of those energies and expressions of those energies themselves. So that's the spiritual view of the energy.
Yeah, that's great.
Does that help?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'd like to breach one more topic, if I may.
Yes.
So I work with a lot of people that have had head injuries,
Oh, how
concussions.
exciting.
Not for them.
You don't know that for a fact.
You're right. It's very challenging. But one thing that I find is people who have had concussions, they tend to hit their heads a lot, and they just attract bumping their head into headboards and someone else's head and
Yes.
corners way more than anyone else
They're
would.
trying to get something through to themselves that they're not getting. They are stubbornly refusing to pay attention, so they're beating their heads against the wall over and over again until they get the point, till they let it in.
But it's
Now, that's not the case all the time.
Okay.
Understand, I'm giving you a generalization. You have to take everything like this on a case-by-case, person-by-person basis to know what the reason is that they may specifically be doing that. Nevertheless, in general, on average, it's usually a representation that someone is refusing to pay attention. They're afraid to pay attention of something that they really need to pay attention to, and therefore they're actually trying to disorient themselves, realign their perspective. They're trying to, in a sense, beat the idea into themselves and pay attention to something that they are refusing and resisting to pay attention to, in general. So, if you can figure out what that is with them and work with them that way and get them to really investigate some of their fear-based beliefs, you may actually help alleviate that behavior.
right, that repetitive head banging.
Yes.
Okay.
What is it you're trying to get through your thick skull? To put it that way.
Right.
What is it you're trying to get here? What are you afraid to get? That's usually the basis of it. What are you afraid will happen if you suddenly became your true being?
Right.
It's that resistance that usually causes it to get that extreme because you're trying to get your own attention. Again, generally.
Right.
Does this help?
Yes, with healing head injuries, though, and this
That's another subject.
not so much. I'm not going to go into
Yes.
healing them so much, but I've heard you talk about healing modalities and
Yes.
healers, and that
Yes.
it's never actually the modality or the healer or the medicine that actually heals.
No, the person heals themselves by matching the vibration the healer or medicine is giving off that represents the healed state. If the person decides to align with that particular frequency representing the healed state, they will heal themselves.
So then why is it with the modality that I use, head injuries tend to respond, very quickly? What is it about their attraction to this modality that allows them to align with that frequency?
It's the permission slip that works best for some of their belief systems. Yes?
Okay.
Or doesn't.
Yeah.
Again, many people will come to a healer to prove they can't be healed. Therefore, you've given them what they asked for. All you need to do is do your job. It's none of your business what they do with what you give them. That's not your job. Your job is to provide the vibration that represents the opportunity to heal themselves. What they do with that, none of your business.
Right.
Yes?
Great. Thank you very
Don't
much.
measure your success by how many people are willing to heal themselves. You measure your success by being yourself as best as you possibly can, knowing there must be a reason they came to you, even if it's not the reason that they think or you think. But they will get something out of it somewhere down the line. Remember, everyone is an infinite, eternal being. What's your hurry?
Great. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.